is really leading us right into what we're going to talk about today, which is really how our brain begins its development stage and how that actually creates the very foundation of how we look at the world. What I was reading this week and reminding myself about, because I've read it before, just going back over it again, was that we are a blank slate and our mind is actually developed by the experiences that we have. In other words, we evolve into the experiences that we have. Our mind, who we think we are, our self-dialogue, our schema, our thought processes all develop from our experiences. That means that we really are formed by the world that we live in. That means that, I don't mean to make this as a bad deal necessarily, I'm going to make this kind of a bold statement. We think we know who we are, when really we were parented by someone, we were raised by someone, and most of our life we're just trying to figure out how to get loved. Get the things we didn't get early on in our development stages. And trying to fit those holes that didn't get met early on, those schemas. And so when we have a difficulty in a relationship or things are going well for us, it's because we didn't get some needs met early on. We don't know how to make those things that aren't being met. We don't have the skill for that because we didn't get it met early on in our early developmental stages. It's that serious. Okay. It's that profound.
I find this really is helpful when you're working with other people and trying to help them, and even spiritually. It sort of it puts it casts a whole different feeling into relationships as they're being built. Because just there's a lot of different ideas, like the fact that emotions are only a fleeting thing. Okay, so if they're fleeting, and if you see somebody who's entering into a bucket and just kind of wallowing in it, as you say, there's something that can be done. But I've always heard this expression: we're supposed to hold each other loosely, and I think I'm beginning to understand how to do that.
So let's talk for a moment. Thank you, Karen. Great lead in. Let's talk for a second about how we perceive ourselves. How we perceive ourselves. We perceive ourselves based on the way that we were loved while we were experiencing the early development years. That's our perception. And so today, that perception is so far removed from who you are, all the interactions that you have now are based on that concept. So your current language is highly faulty based on what you think to be true. In other words, you are not your authentic self until you are totally self-aware and in the moment. Because our language is about what they're doing instead of about what I'm doing. The language is about, can I meet their needs instead of can they meet my needs? You with me? And so when it gets into that space, it's like, oh, really? No wonder I have so many judgments and difficulties with people. I mean, you have friends that you are distant from, or people that show up in your world that you don't like, or it's difficult to be in an intimate relationship or just have friendships because the things that show up on the inside of you are this disconnect with attunement and attachment. Disorganized attachment and not being able to be attuned with you. When you're not in tune with you, attuned to you, when you're not attached to you and attached to a caregiver, when you don't have those two things going on the inside of you, your foundation always creates difficulties all the time. And the level of disorganization that happened early on in your life, your brain, is how difficult life is for you today. In other words, your current relationship is a direct reflection of who raised you. End of story. Let me say that again. Yeah. The current relationship that you are in right now, how it is a direct reflection on who raised you, how you were raised. It's not that mom and dad are good or bad. We can't blame them. It means that there was things that you either got or didn't get in those early development years, and those project onto the current relationship powerfully. So our goal is not to try to get the love that we need from the person that we're in a relationship with. Our goal is to recognize, what am I reflecting or projecting into that relationship about me that I need to change, my 50%. What about me is the most important thing in this relationship that must change? What is it that I need to feel safe and loved and cared for and appreciated and respected and honored and get my yearnings met? Because it's about me. If I wait for them to make me feel loved, I got to get it without them. And if I'm not getting it from them, then it's like I don't have the ability to get them to give it to me because I don't know how. All I'm doing is push them away when they harm me. Okay? As soon as they harm me, it's like, I don't like this. Well, it's because I didn't learn how to repair relationships when they got bad. Instead, I just have this fight or flight or whatever I do when I run away and this pain shows up. We just move away from it. Again, that's just projecting on the relationship. There are healthy relationships out there, I promise you. But we often...
You're seeing you,
pardon? Yeah. Present company accepted. Correct, not in this room. And that means that we have work to do to become aware of what actually is going on the inside of us. Self-awareness and mindfulness. The developing mind. Remember, our mind develops in such a way that it becomes this implicit memory, unknown to us, creates these emotions. By these events create the emotions inside us, and we have no idea where those emotions come from. We just know that they show up. And they show up because of the experiences that happen, again, for 7 years.